to Golf Lessons NYC. My name is Mark W. Just give me one quick second. I am going to pull this up on my computer. So let's see what's going on here. And yeah, hopefully we're going to have a great conversation here. Bear with me. How's everybody? I hope everybody had a happy holiday. Here. Okay. Hello? A little bit of a delay. Alright, so I'm back, and I'm live, but I don't see anybody here yet. So what I'm going to do is just start talking about the golf swing. So what I do is I teach golf, right? But golf is a game, and there's certain skills that we have to have fun playing this game of golf. One of those skills is actually being able to move the golf ball, the little white ball, down the fairway and put it in the hole. Fair? So what that means is we need to have some sort of proficiency, right, in moving the little white ball to where we think it wants to go. Otherwise, there's a lot of frustration that goes on in the game of golf. And that frustration comes from expectations. Right? We hit one good shot, we hit two good shots, bam, we hit this shot, we're like, where in God's name did that come from? No idea, no clue. And that's part of the problem, is that the autocorrect for most individual golfers, and I'm talking about golfers that are relative beginners, self-taught golfers, somebody that's never taken a golf lesson before, that they have this concept and idea of how the golf ball is being delivered down the field. Now, most of the times in my lessons, and I'm going to say most of the times is roughly about 90+% of the times, is that idea of getting the ball from the ground. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, just wanted to bring in some props here. So I got a putter and a wedge, and the reason why I have these two clubs is because they have a difference in loft, and because they have a difference in loft. And when I'm talking loft, if you're a beginner golfer, right, loft is the angle on the club head that actually has the ball fly into the air. This one is called a putter, because the job of this club is to actually keep the ball on the ground and put it into the hole. So this face compared to this club face has a significant difference amount of loft, which to the mind for most basic golfers and beginner golfers and golfers that are self-taught has a perception disconnect. And that perception disconnect is where most of the inconsistencies that I see on the grandest of scale. There are fundamentals of golf, and they need to be in some sort of variance to execute the golf swing. But for me, the most important thing about the golf swing is, it's a swing. The club needs to be swung with some momentum or velocity. That momentum or velocity creates the action to have this golf ball move. Just like anything else. If I wanted to take this golf ball, right, and move it with my hand, right, I gotta swing my hand to hit the golf ball into the side of my couch there. That's a swing, a small swing at that, but that is a swing. I'm not trying to hit the golf ball, but I'm swinging my hand through the golf ball. Excuse me, let me get my ball back. So this brings me back to inconsistency, right? Because the inconsistency comes from the mind's perception of logic. Now, logic would say, if I have this club and this ball, and my table is the ground, then for this ball to get up in the air, I got to figure out a way to get this on the face and hit it in the air. That's logic. So what ends up happening is that as we swing this golf club, there's so many inconsistencies because this thing is trying to figure out a way to get under the ground behind the ball so this face can get under the ball so then it can bang it up into the air. Fundamentally, right, the physics of ball flight, all right, I'm talking about ball flight. How do we get the ball in the air? Ball flight, right? The physics of ball flight is quite different than the logic of this ball being on the ground and getting it up in the air, right? What we want to do to this golf ball, and I'll talk a little bit about the physics of it, what we want to do to this golf ball is create some sort of backspin. That backspin, coupled with the loft of the club, then ejects the ball off the club face, which produces ball flight. So let me say that again. I am not trying, and most professional golfers, and you'll notice that most professional golfers' swings don't look the same in the 30,000 foot view of it. But if you pick out one particular moment in time with slight variances, because everything has a slight little variance to it per individual, because everybody's body is different, their tempo is different, their swings are different. There's a lot of little things in there that's the reason why you have a coach, right? But the one moment of time, and it's just a moment of time, if we stopped the frame where most professional golfers and really good golfers and golfers that have been taught properly would be the position we call impact. Impact is that moment of time where the club and the ball meet for a microsecond. Now, that position of impact is critical because what are we trying to do at impact? We are trying to compress this golf ball into the club face. So why do I have the putter? Good question. I have the putter because looking at this, our natural tendency is just to knock this forward. Why? Because we're not trying to get it up in the air. That's a key. We're not trying to get the golf ball up in the air. We are allowing this golf club that the manufacturers have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars of research and development to make it as easy as possible for golfers to get the golf ball up in the air. But if they don't execute it properly, then it doesn't mean a damn thing. So, if I was going to execute the same shot as with the putter, but with this, not trying to get it up in the air, but just trying to work through it, the ball then has an opportunity to be compressed into the club face. Boom. As the club continues to work through the hitting zone, this ball is ejected with backspin, right? It only has backspin, right? What has the ball curve is the yaw, whether it's right or left. It doesn't have topspin, side spin. It just, through backspin, yaws, and that yaw creates a hook, or if it yaws to the right, it creates a slice. If there is no yaw, and this is hit perfectly square, then it is 100% pure backspin. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to see what I'm doing here. So, I hope that makes sense. Now, ultimately, why does this have loft? This has loft because the loft is now doing the work. The more we try and help this ball up into the air, the more loft we create on the club face, which doesn't allow the metal, this piece of heavy metal, to knock into the back of this ball, compress it, right, into the club face. The club faces now are made where they flex as well, so you're going to have dual compression. Boom, boom. In that moment of compression, right, it's a millisecond. This thing jumps off, and then all depending on how pure the contact is, will be consistency of ball flight. Because sometimes we might hit it low in the face, sometimes we might hit it on the toe, sometimes we might hit it towards the heel, sometimes you might hit it a little high in the face. Center contact is consistency. Anything else takes away from the result of the shot. The problem that I see is that in most people's research, and they're trying to figure it out, they have an understanding, they have a clue. Most of my students know that when I explain to it, okay, I got to go down at it. And that's really kind of the concept. It's really down instead of up. But it's hard to figure that out because the mind is the key to the equation. The mind, and it's not thought mind, it's subconscious mind, right, that has its stuck concept of, well, I got to get this ball up in the air, I got to get this ball up in the air, right? So as we start to train and start to figure out how to shift the bottom from being behind the ball, and when people scull the ball, what happens? They hit behind the ball. This, what we call the leading edge, shoots into the middle of the equator of the ball, and this thing stays on the ground. So a lot of the times I'll say up is down because that keeps it down, but down is up. So when we talk about the concept of down, and I'll just start working a little bit here, right? Hopefully you can still see me, right? And when I start talking about the concept of down, right, I'm working on trying to figure out the bottom of my golf swing. Okay, in the simplest of forms, the golf swing is a circle. So at the bottom of the circle, there's a low point, just as if it was a pendulum. If my club was here and the toe of it was here, right, if this just was a pure pendulum, the low point would be right at the ball, low point. But the bodies are moving, we're being athletic, we're swinging the clubs either anywhere from 70 to 120 miles an hour. So many muscles and so many parts are moving, the consistency of finding that bottom is difficult because of that, and that's where practice comes into play. The more you practice, the easier it gets, as long as you're working in the right direction. And we might find that we'll start moving this way and start hitting it fat, and eventually we start to figure out where the ball is. And when we start to figure out where the ball is, that's where we start to find the consistency. Now, the hardest part as a student is to grab that concept because the mind is so powerful. I'll go back to the mind. The mind has a mind of its own. So my job as a coach is to find the key phrase or the key drill or the key thought. And really it's about thoughts creating actions. Not positions so much. Thoughts will create actions which will get us into better positions. A better thought, right, for me at times is to possibly think about the bottom of my swing or the arc of the swing to be in front of the golf ball. Changes the perception in the mind through action, possibly produces results and possibly not. But you're moving in the right direction. Because I can't tell you how many times I've asked the student to just, you got to swing down. You got to go down. You got to hit the ground. Swing down. And they could do it for 10 minutes. I don't let you do it for 10 minutes because I don't want you to struggle as long. But I do want you to struggle because the struggle is part of the learning curve, and it's part of the learning process. I really like you to figure it out for yourself. But when I do jump in, right, I jump in with actionable thoughts. What's an actionable thought? Here's an actionable thought. Here's my phone. Okay? If I had this club and I told you to swing down and hit my phone, most people could do that. But once we put the golf ball in the way, the brain goes back to thinking, oh, ball up in the air, ball up in the air. So we eliminate the ball for a minute and we start doing some practice with actionable thoughts. Put a card on the ground. Put a coin on the ground. Take a tee, right? And start figuring out how to smash those things into the ground. Then you'll get the concept of swinging down. That's the first step, right? As the shape of the golf swing starts to shift a little bit, and I'm not changing my players' golf swings unless they're horrible, right? Because there's no good swings or bad swings. It's just the swings that we have that produce the result at the given time. You talk about consistency, right? If you hit the ball to the right and you hit the ball to the right 10 times in a row, guess what? You consistently hit the ball to the right. That doesn't mean you have a bad golf swing. It just doesn't mean you just have a golf swing that hits the ball to the right. Now, if you figured out how to aim that thing straight, even though it kept on going right, you could be a pretty good player. Because the game of golf is just something about moving this golf ball a certain distance, a certain direction. If you know where it's going, you're going to have fun. But if you keep on trying to hit the ball straight, not knowing how to, and the ball keeps on going right, that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So, now going back to the concept of actionable thoughts. Excuse me. Right? So actionable thoughts is down, down, down. I can hit this. Then what I do is I'm going to put the golf ball behind that card or behind that phone or behind that coin. Right? The brain has the concept of hitting this, and what we'll end up doing is we'll get the ball in the way of the club head. And that's all we're really trying to do. Right? We're putting a swinging motion, right, and trying to hit a ball. Right? The hit part is actually the contact. But in essence, we're not trying to hit at the ball, but this motion is a moving thing. And at one moment in time, this golf ball gets in the way of that moving thing where this metal then strikes it, right, or hits it, right, for that millisecond. And then, all depending on where the club face is pointed at that moment of time, will start to give you an understanding of ball flight and what the ball is supposed to be doing. Okay, so I don't know how long I've been on here, but this is just a short little glimpse of some of the things that I work on in my golf lessons. I did see that I had one person on here with me before. No likes. You know what? I don't give a damn. You don't have to like it, right? But the fact of the matter is that if you're willing to be coachable, right? You're willing to understand that the subconscious or the logic of golf is not the truth, then you have an opportunity to transform your golf swing into something that's consistent, repeatable, powerful, and ultimately you have an opportunity to have more fun on the golf course. Why do we go and play golf? Right? Some of us go and play golf to win golf tournaments. Right? Is that fun? Yeah, competition is fun for people. Right? Some of us go to a golf course just to enjoy the outside, be with friends, right? Just knock it around, and really that is awesome. But once you start to put pressure on yourself to score, right? That scoring gets in the way of having fun because now you're trying to produce a result. And to produce that result, you have to know how to move this golf ball around the golf course. So, if you are interested in having more fun on the golf course, if you are interested in having a swing that is repeatable, consistent, powerful, I'm going to say athletic, because moving away from an upswing to a through swing, right, and getting through the golf ball is more athletic, and it's actually a physical move that, let's say, 70% of my golfers already know how to do. You are at a disadvantage if you didn't grow up, per se, in the United States as a young male boy, because we all learned how to throw, play baseball, a lot of us played tennis, hockey, right? Those types of sports. Women as well, don't get me wrong, but a lot less women were in Little League Baseball than men were, or boys were, girls and boys, right? The women that seem to have an advantage are the women that grew up playing softball, field hockey, okay? Those type of sports, right? Tennis. It's a great sport to have in your banks, your memory banks, because there are so many parts, moving parts that correlate to the golf swing that you just don't know about because the brain's concept of ball, air gets in the way. So like I said, if you'd like to have more fun on the golf course, which I know everybody does, you'd like to eliminate the frustration, which I know everybody does because God knows it, right? I'm as frustrated as the next person, but thank God for meditation. I've been able to calm that and improve my game as well. But if you're looking to improve the consistency of your golf shots, right, being either they go right and continue to go right, or they go right and they go left, and they go right and they go left, and then once in a while you hit something that goes great, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I can do this, right? Yeah, it's I can do this that keeps you coming back, right? But it's the one that goes right and the one that goes left, right, that gets you walking off the golf course with the scowl on your face, like, man, that fucking sucked. That, right? And you could have had 25 great shots in there, but if you shot 100, 75 of those shots overpowered the 25, and if you stick to the 75 and not the 25, you're stuck because you're not moving forward. All right? So, my name is Mark. Mark W. Golf. My business is Golf Lessons NYC, obviously. If you're interested in learning more about my lessons and how I teach, so on and so forth, please email me. It's Mark, M-A-R-C-W, golf, @gmail.com. Check out my website, markwgolf.com. Check out my reviews on Yelp, right? A lot of people have had success, some haven't, right? It's all about finding the right coach for yourself and the communications, and that's part of the process as well. So I want to say thank you so much if you joined me live. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video if you didn't join me live and now you're watching it on replay. If you haven't noticed, this is something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about making a difference in people, right? It could be golf, it could be anything. It just happens to be my expertise at this moment in time, right? That I am focusing on is golf, right? It's people, allowing them to have more fun on the golf course by knowing how the golf swing works through practice, repetitive motions, and then performance. And I'm going to tell you, it all stems from the mind. And if you want to call me a psychologist, I'm one of those too. Because the hardest thing that I have to do in teaching a golf lesson is really getting through to your mind. So give me a shot. If you're interested, I just gave you all the information. Mark W. Golf, you have yourself a great day. 2017 is going to be a fantastic year for you on the golf course, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it. Thank you so much.